Welcome back to the Cynthia Clark Book Club. We are reading Chapter 7 of The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. The book that I have has all four of her books in one. And we're reading the first one, which you can see backwards, is The Game of Life. We are reading Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is entitled Love. And this is how the book club works. Of course, I'm putting this video in YouTube, but then I'm going to post it as a status in Facebook. And if there's something in this chapter or in the book that you would like to comment on, just post a comment and we can have a conversation. Otherwise, I'll just do what I like doing anyway, one of my favorite things, which is reading. Let me go ahead and let you know the chapters in this book, just in case you want to go out and buy it. Let me tell you this. If you look in YouTube, in the bottom, in the description, you will see a link to my webpage. You will also see a link to my Facebook page for the book club. And if you go to my webpage and you click on the image of the book, you can actually get it'll load a free PDF of this particular book and you can read along. If you don't like reading, maybe your eyesight is fading, you don't want to put on your readers, or maybe you suffer from dyslexia and reading is just cumbersome, then you can just listen to me read the video and you can make comments from there. Either way, we got you covered. So anyway, let me read these chapters. This is a short book. It only has 10 chapters, and the chapters are: number 1, the game; number 2, the law of prosperity; number 3, the power of the word; 4, the law of non-resistance; 5, the law of karma, the law of forgiveness; 6, casting the burden, impressing the subconscious; 7, love; 8, intuition or guidance; 9, perfect self-expression or the divine design; and chapter 10 is denials and affirmations. So let's go ahead and read chapter 7, and chapter 7 is entitled Love. Every man on this planet is taking his Every man on this planet is taking his initiation in love. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another. Ouspensky states in Tertium Organum that love is a cosmic phenomenon and opens to man the fourth dimensional world, the world of the wondrous. Real love is selfless and free from fear. It pours itself out upon the object of its affection without demanding any return. Its joy is in the joy of giving. Love is God in manifestation and the strongest magnetic force in the universe. Pure, unselfish love draws to itself its own. It does not need to seek or demand. Scarcely anyone has the faintest conception of real love. Man is selfish, tyrannical, fearful in his affection, thereby losing the thing he loves. Woman is selfish, tyrannical, or fearful in her affections, thereby losing the thing she loves. Jealousy is the worst enemy of love, for the imagination runs riot, seeing the loved one attracted to another. And invariably, these fears objectify if they are not neutralized. Jealousy in a relationship is not attractive. I was jealous in a relationship before, and it just was not pretty. But we live and learn, right? So anyway, back to the book. For example, a woman came to me in deep distress. The man she loved had left her for another woman, and he said he never intended to marry her. She was torn with jealousy and resentment, and said she hoped he would suffer as he had made her suffer, and added, how could he love me when I loved him so much? I replied, you are not loving that man, you are hating him. and added, you can never receive what you have never given. Give a perfect love, and you will receive a perfect love. Perfect yourself on this man. Give him a perfect, unselfish love, demanding nothing in return. How easy is that? Do not criticize or condemn, and bless him wherever he is. When I read that sentence that says, perfect yourself on this man, it makes me think of that song, Love the One You're With, right? So if you're in a relationship, it makes me think that if what she's saying, possibly, I don't know. Anyway, it's just my take. It's saying to me, if you're in a relationship and it's not perfect, and what relationship is, then you should perfect yourself on the person, meaning practice on them, practice doing your part so that you can learn, right? And I'm not saying if you're in a relationship that's abusive, and that could be for a man or a woman. It's just as many women that hit men as it is that men that hit women, believe it or not. There are some aggressive women out there. So anyway, perfect yourself on this man. When I think of that, it really resonates with me, because a lot of times if things don't go perfectly, oftentimes you just want to jump ship. Well, according to this book, maybe you should just practice giving an unselfish love, demanding nothing in return. What a concept. I'm going to give it a try. Anyway, let's keep going. She replied, no, I won't bless him unless I know where he is. Well, I said, this is not real love. When you send out real love will return to you, either from this man or his equivalent. For if this is not the divine selection, you will not want him. As you are one with God, you are one with the love which belongs to you by divine right. Several months passed, and matters remained about the same. But she was working conscientiously with herself. I said, when you are no longer disturbed by his cruelty, he will cease to be cruel, as you are attracting it through your own emotions. Then I told her of a brotherhood in India who never said good morning to each other. They use the words, I salute the divinity in you. They saluted the divinity in every man and in the wild animals, in the jungle, and they were never harmed, for they saw only God in every living thing. I said, salute the divinity in this man and say, I see your divine self only. I see you as God sees you, perfect, made in his image and likeness. She found she was becoming more poised and gradually losing her resentment. He was a captain, and she always called him the cat. One day, she said, suddenly, God bless the cat wherever he is. I replied, now that is real love. And when you have become a complete circle and are no longer disturbed by the situation, you will have his love or attract its equivalent. When I read that, it makes me think that when you're with someone and you go all out, even if that isn't the person for you, you will attract the person for you because you gave your all. Wow. Anyway, let's keep going. I was moving at this time and did not have a telephone, so was out of touch with her for a few weeks, when one morning I received a letter saying, we are married. At the earliest opportunity, I paid her a call. My first words were, what happened? Oh, she exclaimed, a miracle. One day, I woke up and all suffering had ceased. I saw him that evening, and he asked me to marry him. We were married in about a week, and I have never seen a more devoted man. There's an old saying. I love this saying. No man is your enemy. No man is your friend. Every man is your teacher. I'm going to read it again. No man is your enemy. No man is your friend. Every man is your teacher. And that's not to say you don't have friends. The point is, every person you meet can teach you something. There's a lesson. Like, every person you meet is a book. And there's something for you to learn from that book called That Person. There's something for you to learn from John Smith. There's something for you to learn from Sheila Smith. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep going. Back to the book. So one should become impersonal and learn what each man has to teach him. And soon he would learn his lessons and be free. The woman's lover was teaching her selfless love, which every man, sooner or later, must learn. Suffering is not necessary for man's development. It is the result of violation of spiritual law. But few people seem able to rouse themselves from their soul sleep without it. When people are happy, they usually become selfish. And automatically the law of karma is set in action. Man often suffers loss through lack of appreciation. I'm going to read that again. Man often suffers loss through lack of appreciation. I didn't see the movie Temptation, but I did see the trailers where the woman was, I think her birthday came up and her husband forgot her birthday. And then there was this other scene where he was watching the game and she felt ignored, right? And when you are happy, according to this book, this is not me, I'm just reading the book, it says that you usually become selfish, and automatically the law of karma is set in action. Man often suffers loss through lack of appreciation. So she didn't feel appreciated, and so if she's not getting appreciation from that source, and this could be with a man or a woman, then something inside of you automatically goes to look for what you feel like you're missing. So anyway, let's keep going. I knew a woman who had a very nice husband, but she said often, I don't care anything about being married. But this is nothing against my husband. I'm simply not interested in married life. She had other interests and scarcely remembered she had a husband. She only thought of him when she saw him. One day her husband told her he was in love with another woman and left her. She came to me in distress and resentment. I replied, it is exactly what you spoke the word for. You said you didn't care anything about being married. So the subconscious worked to get you unmarried. Words are powerful. Thoughts and words are powerful. They set things in motion. And we see what happened in this case. So anyway, let's keep going. She said, oh yes, I see. People get what they want. That's what she wanted. People get what they want and then feel very much hurt. Sometimes you forget what you asked for, and then when you get it, because it's a change, and people sometimes resent change, you are unhappy. But then you got to remember, you know what, I asked for that. I forgot that Anyway, back to the book. She said, oh yes, I see. People get what they want and then feel very much hurt. She soon became in perfect harmony with the situation and knew they were both much happier apart. When a woman becomes indifferent or critical and ceases to be an inspiration to her husband, he misses the stimulus of their earlier relationship and is restless and unhappy. A man came to me dejected, miserable, and poor. His wife was interested in the science of numbers and had him read. It seems the report was not very favorable. He said, my wife says I'll never amount to anything because I'm a 2. I replied, I don't care about what your number is. You are a perfect idea in divine mind, and we will demand the success and prosperity which is already planned for you by the infinite intelligence. Within a week, he had a very fine position, and a year or 2 later, he achieved a brilliant success as a writer. No man is a success in business unless he loves his work. The picture the artist paints for love of his art is the greatest work. The pot boiler is always something to live down. This was written in 1925. I still don't know what that means. Anyway, I guess no one loves being a pot boiler. I guess that's what it means. Back to the book. No man can attract money if he despises it. Many people are kept in poverty by saying, money means nothing to me, and I have contempt for people who have it. This is the reason so many artists are poor. Their contempt for money separates them from it. I remember hearing one artist say of another, he's no good as an artist. He has money in the bank. The attitude of mind, of course, separates man from his supply. He must be in harmony with a thing in order to attract it. Wow. Money is God in manifestation as freedom from want and limitation, but it must be always kept in circulation and put to right uses. Hoarding and saving react with grim vengeance. This does not mean that man should not have houses and lots, stocks and bonds, for the barns of the righteous man shall be full. I'm going to read that again. This does not mean that woman should not have houses and lots, stocks and bonds, for the barns of the righteous woman shall be full. It means man should not hoard even the principal if an occasion arises when money is necessary. And letting it go out fearlessly and cheerfully, he opens the way for more to come in. For God is man's unfailing and inexhaustible supply. This is the spiritual attitude towards money, and the great bank of the universal never fails. We see an example of hoarding in the film production of Greed. The woman won $5,000 in a lottery, but would not spend it. She hoarded and saved. She let her husband suffer and starve, and eventually she scrubbed floors for a living. She loved the money itself and put it above everything, and one night she was murdered and the money taken from her. This is an example of where love of money is the root of all evil. Money in itself is good and beneficial, but used for destructive purposes, hoarded and saved, or considered more important than love, brings disease and disaster and the loss of money itself. Follow the path of love, and all the things are added, for God is love, and God is supply. Follow the path of selfishness and greed, and the supply vanishes, or man is separated from it. For example, I knew the case of a very rich woman who hoarded her income. She rarely gave anything away, but bought and bought and bought things for herself. She was very fond of necklaces, and a friend once asked her how many she possessed. She replied, 67. She bought them and put them away, carefully wrapped in tissue paper. Had she used the necklaces, it would have been quite legitimate, but she was violating the law of use. Her closets were filled with clothes she never wore and jewels which never saw the light. The woman's arms were gradually becoming paralyzed from holding on to things, and eventually she was considered incapable of looking after her affairs, and her wealth was handed over to others to manage. So man is ignorant of the law, brings about his own destruction. So man in ignorance of the law brings about his own destruction. All disease, all unhappiness come from the violation of the law of love. Man's boomerangs of hate, resentment, and criticism come back laden with sickness and sorrow. Love seems almost a lost art, but the man with the knowledge of spiritual law knows it must be regained, for without it he has become a sounding brass and tinkling symbols. For example, I had a student who came to me month after month to clean her consciousness of resentment. After a while, she arrived at the point where she resented only one woman. But that one woman kept her busy. Little by little, she became poised and harmonious, and one day all resentment was wiped out. She came in radiant and exclaimed, "You can't understand how I feel." The woman said something to me, and instead of being furious, I was loving and kind, and she apologized and was perfectly lovely to me. No one can understand the marvelous lightness I feel inside. For love and goodwill are invaluable in business. For example, a woman came to me complaining of her employer. She said she was cold and critical and knew she did not want her in the position. Well, I replied, "Salute the divinity in the woman and send her love." She said, "I can't. She's a marble woman." I answered, "You remember the story of the sculptor who asked for a certain piece of marble?" He was asked why he wanted it, and he replied, "Because there is an angel in the marble." And out of it, he produced a wonderful work of art. She said, "Very well, I'll try it." A week later, she came back and said, "I did what you told me to do." And now the woman is very kind and took me out in her car. People are sometimes filled with remorse for having done someone an unkindness, perhaps years ago. If the wrong cannot be righted, its effect can be neutralized by doing someone a kindness in the present. This one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before. Sorrow, regret, and remorse tear down the cells of the body and poison the atmosphere of the individual. A woman said to me in deep sorrow, "Treat me to be happy and joyous, for my sorrow makes me so irritable with the members of my family that I keep making more karma." I was asked to treat a woman who was mourning for her daughter. I denied all belief in loss and separation and affirmed that God was the woman's joy, love, and peace. The woman gained her poise at once, but sent word by her son not to treat any longer because she was so happy it wasn't respectable. So mortal mind loves to hang on to its grief and regrets. I knew a woman who went about bragging of her troubles, so of course she always had something to brag about. The old idea was if a woman did not worry about her children, she was not a good mother. Now we know that mother fear is responsible for many of the diseases and accidents which come into the lives of children. When I think about this, it makes me think of how some kids. I had a friend of the family had a little boy, and they came to visit once, and we lived on the third floor. It's three stairs up, and so her little boy was there. Maybe he was 3 years old, and he's like terrible twos where they just run around. And when we opened the front door, when she was leaving to go out, the little boy's just running around. He's running out of the door, and I know how many stairs they go down to the first floor, and I'm like, "Oh my God, get him!" And she's just calm as she can be. And so I know you probably know examples of people that have children. It seems like they just let them do whatever because they are not in fear of the child. And I'm not saying people that just don't watch them and they run out in the street, and I'm just talking about someone that doesn't have a fear, an imbalanced fear for their children. They just kind of know that they're going to be okay. Not that they're not watching them, but I think you get the point. Anyway, back to the book. For fear pictures vividly the disease or situation feared, and these pictures objectify if not neutralize. Happy is the mother who can say sincerely that she puts her child in God's hands and knows therefore that he is divinely protected. I'm going to read that again. Happy is the mother who can say sincerely that she puts her child in God's hand and knows therefore that she is divinely protected. So with my daughter Naja, she doesn't live with me. She lives with her dad, and then she comes to visit me at times. But I remember she lives in a complex of townhouses, and I remember once I was on the phone with her dad, and he was telling me that she was out playing. And they have the grassy areas in its cars and stuff. And I was like, is it safe for her to be out there? Yada, yada, yada. And then we had a conversation where he was telling me that in school she had different training about, what to do if strangers approach her and stuff like that. And then I had a conversation with her, and she is just, she's good. She's a smart kid. And not that we don't look after her, but we're not overly anxious about her safety. Therefore, we're not putting fear energy into her. She's a smart girl. And I remember once she went to a music store, and the guy behind the counter was like, hi, so what kind of instrument are you playing? And he was asking her about music class and how it was going, and she was answering his questions. And he said, so what school do you go to? And she said, you know what, I don't know you that well, so I'm not going to tell you what school I go to. And he said, smart girl. And the reason she said that is because she went to a safety class for children, and they talked about not giving strangers too much information about you because they could possibly locate you somehow. So she was very friendly to the cashier at the music store. But when he started asking her questions that might put two and two together, she was and asked her, so what school do you go to? She was like, you know what, I don't know you that well. It was funny. So anyway, I don't have to overly worry about her. She's a good girl, and she has brains, and we teach her. And so let's keep going. For example, a woman awoke suddenly in the night, feeling her brother was in great danger. Instead of giving in to her fears, she commented, making statements of truth, saying, man is a perfect idea in divine mind, and is always in his right place. Therefore, my brother is in his right place and is divinely protected. The next day, she found that her brother had been in close proximity to an explosion in a mine, but had miraculously escaped. So man is his brother's keeper in thought, and every man should know that the thing he loves dwells in the secret place of the Most High, and abides under the shades of the Almighty. I remember when I was younger, my brothers, I used to fear. It was this one thing I just never wanted to happen to it. I have two brothers. It was this one thing that I never wanted to happen to my brother. And I remember being young and just fearing or hoping that, I hope this never happens to my brother. This one thing, I just hope it never happens to my brother. And guess what? It happened to one of my brothers. The thing that I feared the most, that I didn't want to happen to my brothers, happened to one of my brothers. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm just putting that out there. That's the truth. Okay, we're almost done. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come thy dwelling. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. So no evil befall you, no plague come to your house. I guess that's what that means. So anyway, it says, perfect love casteth out fear. He that feareth is not made perfect in love, and love is the fulfillment of the law. Let me read that one more time. Perfect love casteth out fear. Perfect love casteth out fear. He that feareth is not made perfect in love, and love is the fulfillment of the law. Love is the fulfillment of the law.